Liesel considered as she held Isaiah's hand in the limousine which transported them from the restaurant where they'd had an incredible meal. Her date was quite possibly the most interesting person she had ever met. The flight had been one of the most erotic episodes of her life. Isaiah's words the rest of the ride on the way to the airport, where she had remained on his lap, had been downright filthy. The seatbelt sign had barely been shut off before he had been dragging her to the bedroom at the back of the plane where he demonstrated the things he could do with his tongue was not limited to his dirty language. He'd then vigorously exhausted every single minute of their airtime in various positions in the bed, against the vanity in the bathroom, once even upright against the door. She had felt sweaty, hungry, disheveled as she'd quickly redressed for the landing. She grimaced at him for appearing no worse for the wear. During dinner, he had regaled her with anecdotes of his childhood and the trouble he got into with his cousin Joachim. His father's sister had moved her family to New York when her children had been teenagers. After getting their children back, Isaiah's father had insisted they spend as much time with their family as they could, making frequent trips to visit the family in New York and vice versa. Joachim and Isaiah became very close, bonding over their desires to live the ultimate American dream of being rich. Their parents had instilled a strong work ethic in both men, but the sons knew how to throw a party. Joachim turned it into a profession, opening nightclub after nightclub all along the eastern coast. Their businesses often intertwined, with Isaiah weighing in on design and architectural aspects of the places his cousin purchased. Isaiah told her he had a degree in architecture but also held a general contracting license for building and was able to use with great confidence any of the tools his construction guys could use. He was a smart man, highly intellectual, but Liesel found him very down to earth. Despite his wealth, he was friendly and kind, even to the wait staff. When the server had spilled water on the table, he had laughed and told her not to panic because water only hurt witches in Oz. Liesel had giggled while the girl had profusely thanked him for not freaking out at her. Liesel had seen the number he had put on the bill for a gratuity, and she had almost gasped. He'd tipped the same amount as the bill, and yet he did with such ease. He had done it quickly, not realizing she had noticed. To her, it demonstrated this was the manner in which he was accustomed to behaving. Now in the car, he was pointing out various landmarks. "Next time we come, we'll make a full week of it, if you can get time off from the gallery." He squeezed her hand. "You could spend a year here, yet never see it all." "It's so bright and it's nighttime," Liesel said as she took in the lights of the city. She looked to him. "You're very familiar with the city. You've been here a lot. Do you have your own place here?" "I am here a lot because Joachim doesn't let me rest," he chuckled. "I did have a condo, but I sold it last year. I quadrupled my investment." Joachim was pissed because the lady I sold it to is a movie star and she now lives in the penthouse above him. She won't give him the time of day unless she wants to party in his club. He's a bit of a womanizer. "A bit? How can you be a bit of a womanizer? Either you are or aren't." "Touché," he acknowledged her question with a nod. "He's a womanizer. He never dates the same girl more than a few times, and he called me the other day to complain his mother showed up at his place to clean it and found him with 2 women in his bed." "No," she cupped her hands to his mouth. "Why?" "His mother thinks he's a slob, so she routinely goes to his house." He trailed off laughing as she slapped his hand. "Oh, you mean why did he have 2 girls? I imagine it has to do with drugs, alcohol, and willing participants." She frowned. "Do you do drugs?" "No. You've met my mother. Alcohol is it for me, and even then, rarely to excess. I'm 39, Liesel, and my mom still scares the hell out of me. When I was a kid, she traded the wooden spoon for this really long wooden rolling pin she had. One crack on the thigh or backside from that thing and you found yourself regretting all your life choices. Your mom didn't spare the rod, huh?" "Nope. Beatings happened in my family. Still do. She's a tough nut. My mom never raised her hands to us and neither did my dad. She thought about it, my sister could seriously have used a smack or 2 growing up." "Why is she so different than you and Fred?" "Fred's great. I had several laughs with him today. He's hilarious. We're very close. I can tell. He's protective of you. He told me it didn't matter how much money I had in the bank. If I made you sad after all the hell you've been through recently, he'd make me pay." She threw her head back laughing. Did he now? Considering he's so thin, you could probably put his entire body in your one pant leg. I think you'll survive. I'd rather not take my chances. I think I'll keep you happy. I would appreciate it very much. She noted the car was slowing down. I'm a bit nervous, she confided. I haven't been dancing since I was in my early 20s and usually only with the girls. Once I started being serious with Merle, he would make comments about how it would reflect on him to be seen in bars, so we never went. Is there going to be a lot of the drug thing you mentioned? No. None. He winked at her. Joaquim knows I don't like it, so our booth will be clean. Alcohol only. Can you dance? My mother reminded me today how Merlin made us learn the Viennese waltz. Did you enjoy it? No. You have to be very rigid, and after the dance at our wedding, he was annoyed I messed up the steps. I never wanted to do it again. Well, I cannot do any kind of formal dance, but I like to think I have natural rhythm. I'll give you that, she grinned at him, earning a loud laugh at her teasing. He hooked his arm around her neck and drew her close and kissed her mouth softly. Liesel, just when I think I couldn't like you more, you throw out another little comment making me wonder where you've been all my life. I'm glad you came to find me a week ago. This has been the most fun I've had. Me too, Isaias. I enjoy being with you a lot. The car came to a halt, and he frowned suddenly. It is highly probable there will be paparazzi here. My security team will keep them at bay outside and we'll go straight to our VIP room once we meet up with my cousin. Try to ignore them. They tend to try to rattle my cage by asking me stupid questions. Okay, she blinked, her nerves feeling even more strained. Does this happen frequently? Yes. It will get easier to ignore them with time. I didn't mention it earlier because I want you to relax, but they caught wind of us leaving the restaurant and there were a couple coming up behind us. Do not fret. I've got you, but just keep your head down. It's funny. I never had to go through this with Merlin. Because he's boring as dirt, he laughed. I am far more interesting and far wealthier. I do not enjoy the press. I have a PR team who manages most of my publicity and a legal team who handles any violations. Today I demolished a house, and my press agent live-streamed it and made a big deal about a beautification project since there is a daycare and a school walking distance to the house we leveled. I don't usually tear things down. Since there was some publicity this morning, the sharks want to feed. Do not be alarmed if they're a bit more voracious. He whispered in her ear as the door was pulled open by the driver. I promise to be far more ravenous later than they ever will be. She was having the time of her life. Joaquim was the modern-day version of a scoundrel. If she lived in Victorian times, she was certain simply being acquainted with him would have made all the socialites gasp. She would have been the talk of the ton. She had never laughed so hard with the way these two men cracked each other up. They were clearly closer than brothers who constantly made each other punchlines in jokes, but then they laughed at themselves with equal measure. For two very wealthy men, there was not a pretentious bone in either of their bodies. Right now, as she was perched on Isaias's lap, giggling as she sipped a fruity drink, Joaquim was retelling the story of how his mother caught him with two women. His details were far more hilarious than the abbreviated version of what Isaias had told her. Liesel, she dug her rosary out of her purse, fell to her knees in prayer, and tried to get the girls to pray with her. She chortled delightedly at his words. He was the opposite of Isaias in terms of appearance. She had expected them to look alike, but he was blonde, blue-eyed, with thin lips and a nose which was long and proud. Where they were similar was in the way they carried themselves. Proud men with erect postures and a way of looking around the room, taking it all in with one movement and easily discounting anyone not of value with a simple glance. All eyes were on the handsome duo, and Liesel felt proud to be on Isaias' arm. Your poor mother. Poor me. She interrupted 10 minutes too soon. He gave her a meaningful glance. On that note, Isaias chuckled and put his glass on the table and pushed Liesel to a standing position. I want to dance with you again. She knew he enjoyed dancing with her. He'd had her on her feet most of the night. She kissed his cheek. Let me go to the bathroom first. He grinned and reminded her of when she'd crashed his date. Is this where you go text your friends about how hot I am? Nope. My phone is dead. She mocked him. Two of the girls hanging over Joaquim immediately jumped up to walk with her, offering to keep her company. They chatted about nothing in particular as she did her business. They were washing their hands when four other women walked in and beelined for Liesel. A willowy blonde with a dress so tight she could barely walk stood with her arms folded over her chest, glaring at her. "Can I help you?" Liesel reapplied her lipstick in the mirror, not fully facing her. "Yes, you can go crawl under whatever rock you came from." "Excuse me?" "I've been coming to all of Joaquim's club openings for years. I've put the time in, and some newcomer isn't going stroll in here and take from me what I've worked so hard to get." "Which is?" "Isaias." She giggled. She couldn't help herself. "Really? You've worked hard to get him?" Liesel considered all she'd done was walk up and offer him a bribe. "I have put in the time. I know him better than he knows himself. I watch him and I follow him on all his social media. I know when he's going to be here in the city and I..." "Oh, let me cut you off right there," she raised her hand in the air. "Are you saying you stalk him?" "No!" The woman's friends appeared stunned. Liesel was talking back to her. "Do you know who I am?" "No. Do you know who I am?" Liesel asked with a snort. "No, should I?" "I don't know. I thought we were playing a game." The girls who had come into the bathroom with Liesel snickered at her comment. She looked over her shoulder to note one of them was texting furiously on her phone. "Listen, you bitch, I've danced with him every time he's come out. Based on your off-the-rack dress, you're probably one of Joaquim's paid bimbos. I saw you dancing with him and I sitting on his knee. Back off or I will ruin you. I'll find out who you are, and you won't be able to show your face in all of New York again. He's mine. 3 years I've been waiting for him to be with me again." "Okay, let's go." She waved at the woman. "What?" "I said let's go. Let's go talk to Isaias right now. Ask him to decide." "Let's ask him." She stepped closer to the woman, which appeared to shake her resolve, who he'd rather fuck tonight. "How dare you? What is your name?" "Craven France. You should do well to remember it. Sounds like a drag name. I have a friend back home who's a queen. I bet if I asked, they have a friend named Craven." "You're a bitch. Girl, you approached me in the bathroom of a club to warn me off a man you've been chasing for 3 years who clearly has never given you the time of day. We slept together." Once, one of her friends whispered and then made wide eyes as she realized she spoke aloud. Liesel snickered. "Honey, if you were with him and slept, you did it wrong. Maybe it's why he was a one and done." The woman raised her hand to try to slap her and Liesel grabbed her wrist and bent it. "I'm a middle child with a kid sister who makes you look angelic. There isn't a damn thing you can do to me which will ever top what she has said and done. Why don't you and your little posse go back to wherever it was you came from?" She shoved her away. "I swear if you don't leave this club right now, I'll make you wish you had never met Isaias Machado. He's mine. Yeah, my sister did this to me on a daily basis. Try something new and we'll see if maybe you get a different reaction." The door to the bathroom shoved open and both Isaias and Joaquim walked in. "Why did I get a text from one of my girls that my very special guest was being assaulted and almost slapped in the bathroom, Craven?" Joaquim blocked the door, not letting anyone out. "Isaias." Craven cooed, ignoring Joaquim, "You didn't tell me you were in town." "I have never once told you when I was in town." He looked to Liesel. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. I should have guessed there would be at least one to crawl out of the woodwork. You didn't get so good at what you do by sleeping alone for the last 30 years. She grinned at him as Joaquim hooted with laughter. "Hey!" He frowned, his eyes lightening as he realized she was not angry at him. "I'm only 39. I did not start having sex at 9. I was 14. 25 years then." She took his hand. "Will there be more of this to deal with? If so, I want Joaquim to keep the drinks coming." She threatened Liesel and said she was going to ruin her if she didn't leave the club. One of the girls who had accompanied her to the bathroom spoke up. Told Liesel she had put 3 years into snagging Isaias, and she wasn't letting one of Joachim's bimbos ruin it. The girl grinned at Craven. I'm one of Joachim's bimbos, by the way, and I'd be thrilled to have Liesel join the harem if Isaias wasn't so greedy with her. She bumped Craven's shoulder as she moved to slide under Joachim's arm. For the record, Isaias leveled up with Liesel. He could have gotten rid of an STI faster than he could have ditched you after fucking. Simone, that's not very nice, Joachim smirked. There's no need to bring up Isaias' biggest regrets in life. She is definitely not one of my biggest regrets in life, Isaias argued. Craven's eyes lit up and he doused it harshly. Do not give Craven more credit than she is due. I don't even recall most of the night. I was blackout drunk and clearly aiming low. It certainly was not regret-worthy. You dance with me every time we're in the club, Craven protested. You're attracted to me. I dance with Joachim too. I feel more attraction to him than you. He sighed and kissed Liesel on the forehead. How about we let Joachim deal with his patrons who insulted my girlfriend? Preferably banning them for life. Girlfriend? Craven squealed. She's your girlfriend? You've never had a girlfriend, Isaias. Yet. He lifted a shoulder. Here I am with mine. She's even already met my mom. Isaias, Liesel squeezed his hand. Can we just go? She's killing my buzz. They made their way back to the VIP. She released his hand, made her way to the server, and asked for another drink to be brought to her. Now the skirmish was over, she was feeling decidedly less happy than she had prior to going to the bathroom. She avoided Isaias' gaze and moved to sit on one of the tall bar stools near a tall table overlooking the dance floor and stared down. Warm hands pressed to her shoulders while his lips touched her cheek. Are you okay? Nothing my sister hasn't come at with before. It's not what I asked. He moved to stand in front of her. Simply because you've dealt with bitches your entire life doesn't mean you're okay when it happens. Are you okay? I'm angry. She met his gaze directly. As you should be. Will this happen a lot? Where I get accosted by your ex-lovers who think I'm taking what is rightfully theirs. Truthfully, he didn't back. I from her glare, this is a first for me. If it's happened before, nobody has told me about it. Craven is part of a group of women who attend all of Joachim's openings. Their main goal in life is to be seen. Her parents are very wealthy, and she lives off her trust fund. She is nothing more to me than someone who attends the same parties. You slept with her. She didn't mean for the words to sound accusing and groaned. I'm not expecting you not to have a past. I simply didn't think it was going to try to bitch slap me in a bathroom of a club. 3 years ago, I finished a huge project which had been 3 years in the making. Huge. It had me out of the country more than in. It was a restoration project for a very well-known actor who had purchased a castle, of all fucking things, in Italy. The termination of the project coincided with Joachim opening his club in Atlantic City, and we partied hard. I had a lot to drink, enough to rival the party I threw in my mom's house. Back then, I had made my first million and celebrated. This time, it was the good riddance to one of the most difficult clients we've ever undertaken. You saw tonight, I don't drink a lot. I enjoy a good drink and I don't mind a light buzz, but I do prefer very much to be in control all the time. It is a very rare occasion for me to be wasted. I got hammered out of my skull and Craven invited me back to her hotel room. I went. When it was done, I told her it was a mistake and I left. At her blinking stare, he rubbed his face. Liesel, I don't normally talk out of turn, but it wasn't good enough for me to go back for seconds, let alone commit to her. I was so drunk I puked in the back of my SUV on the way back to my own hotel. I saw her at the next opening. She flirted with me. I shut her down hard. It's been 3 years and I won't lie and say I haven't danced with her or the girls on the floor when I'm at a club alone, but I have never repeated the sex. I had no idea she was still thinking of it 3 years later. I've had sex with you. I can get why. She tried to joke. He gave a snort. Yeah, what you and I did last night is a far cry than the drunken fumbling I did with her. Do not compare our incredible chemistry to escapades I couldn't be bothered to remember. What did she mean when she said you never have had a girlfriend? Do you have an aversion to relationships? He shrugged. I don't know where she got her information. I've dated plenty. I've had relationships which have run their course, but not for the last 5 years. My last relationship was with a woman named Raquel. She is from California. We dated off and on for about 3 years. On our 3rd anniversary, she threw a fit when I didn't propose. I broke it off right there. You broke it off? When I say she threw a fit, I mean we were in a very reputable restaurant she had booked. I didn't even realize it was an anniversary of any kind. We spent as much time apart as we did together in those 3 years. When dessert came around and we were done, I asked for the check. She lost it and made a huge scene about me taking advantage of her and stringing her along. Her scene included throwing a glass of wine at me, glass and all. I walked out and never went back. She was quiet as she studied the way he was staring her right in the eyes as he talked to her. Say something, he said, reaching for her hands. Do you attract crazy, or is it what you're attracted to? He threw his head back and laughed at her question and then wrapped his arms around her, hugging her where she sat in the chair. Oh, Liesel, you are amazing. I like to think I'm attracted to passion, but there may be some crazy in there. My latest fascination is a woman hellbent on revenge, so, he trailed off with a smirk as he kissed her lips. I can't deny I'm a couple pancakes short of a stack, but I promise never to accost any future girlfriends or throw wine glasses at you. She hugged him back, her arm snaking around his middle as she pursed her lips to accept another peck from him. Thank you. He laughed at her comment. To answer your question, I do not have an aversion to relationships. However, my parents set a very high bar. I won't consider marrying anyone if I am not convinced it is for life. My mom and dad have an incredible marriage. They are still very much in love 45 years later. They fight hard and work hard on their marriage. They have a date night every week, no matter what, even if it's simply making popcorn and watching a movie at home. I respect how they prioritize time for each other. I've seen my father walk out of $1 million business meeting because my mom called him and said she needed him. I want to love someone that much before I put a ring on it. She nodded. I get it. The server approached with her drink and set it on the table with a smile. Can I get you anything, Isaias? Nope. I have all I need right here. He brushed a tendril of hair off Liesel's cheek and tucked it behind her ear. Liesel blushed as the server whispered, ah, as she walked away, leaving them alone. Are you still angry? A bit. She was honest. She really pissed me off. What do you normally do to get rid of residual anger? How can I help? Her fingers were touching the material of his shirt against his back as she looked up at him. A kiss might help. A kiss? His eyes sparkled as a smile grew across his cheeks. I can do that. I'm sure you can, she giggled right before his lips touched to hers. The thumping bass of the music, the crowd below cheering to the popular song which had just started, and the buzz of energy of the club fed Liesel's hunger for the man in front of her. His tongue swept past her parted lips and tangled with hers. She leaned closer to him, her butt perched precariously on the edge of the stool, but she had no fear of falling as he held her to him. He tasted of the expensive bourbon he'd been drinking, and she wanted more. He sucked on her lower lip. She whimpered with need as one of his hands slid up her bare thighs under her skirt and the other gripped her jaw to hold in her place while he devoured her. His lips were plush and soft, moving back and forth over hers. When he broke the kiss, they were both panting heavily, resting forehead to forehead, eyes locked, lips bruised. While her anger had been assuaged, her desire was running rampant. Holy shit, Liesel, every single time I touch you it feels like we're going to combust. I know. She rasped out, not able to look away from the intensity of his stare. She knew if she was bold enough to touch him, he would be as hard as she was wet. We have two choices. He didn't break their intimate embrace. Stay or leave. Leave, she said decisively. After saying a very quick goodbye to Joachim, who had high-fived Isaias and catcalled Liesel, calling her a dirty girl, they were back in the limo on their way to the hotel. He had yanked her onto his lap, and she straddled his thighs, her arms wrapped around his neck and her lips fixed to his. His hands were under her skirt, grabbing her lace-covered ass with a firm grip as he rocked her over the evidence of his desire for her. They were both moaning hungrily as his fingers massaged and squeezed her. If anyone told me I'd be dry humping a woman 6 months before my 40th birthday in the back of a limo, I would have laughed at them, he groaned breathlessly as the car came to a halt. You need to walk right in front of me the entire way to the suite or paparazzi are going to have a field day with the way my pants are busting at the seams. She giggled as she crawled off his lap. A knock on the window told them his security was in place, and he mumbled under his breath in a language she didn't know. Are you cursing in Portuguese? Yes. I have half a mind to have the driver circle for 20 minutes so we can finish back here before we head up to bed. She laughed as the door opened and she was helped out by security. Immediately there was yelling and questions being tossed at them from reporters outside the hotel. She preceded him into the hotel, and she was surprised how 6 men flanked them all the way to the elevator. He held her hand tightly through the lobby while he conversed with one of the men in Portuguese, but true to his words, he had her walking directly in front of him. Once they were in the elevator, the very hard reality of his desire poked her in the backside. He bent his head and whispered hot, naughty words in her ear which had her shivering with excitement. She exhaled a nervous breath as they ascended quickly to the suite. When they stepped out, she looked around in awe. She was speechless. The room was opulent and sexy with candles everywhere and multiple bouquets of flowers. Holy moly! He chuckled as he walked behind her and dropped a kiss to her nape. You like? Very much so. You did this for me? She turned to face him, her eyes bugging out of her head. She was unable to focus on him as she continued looking around the room. She gave a low shriek when he swept her up in his arms and carried her across the room through doors to the bedroom and deposited her on the bed. I wanted it to be special. It's not every day an incredible woman introduces herself to me and helps me embark on an amazing journey. She was tugging her dress over her head, snarling when it got stuck around her head. He was laughing as he tried to unzip it. You are anxious. I want you. She said, her eyes wide as she finally flung it away. She noted he was also kicking his clothes off with speed to match hers. Her panties flew past his head and her bra wasn't far behind. Sunday morning, Lisa woke to find herself once again being held tightly in Isaiah's grip. Her body ached in ways she had never known possible, and she had a strange understanding of women who ran marathons. They were sweaty and sticky. Her mouth tasted like she'd licked the carpet in the room. She slowly pulled away from his tight embrace and he murmured a complaint as his fingers reached for her when she crawled out of the bed. Need to pee. She paused. Please tell me there are toothbrushes in the bathroom. She gave him a sideways glance as he mumbled everything she could possibly need was in the bathroom before flopping onto his belly away from her and pulling a pillow over his head. She stopped and stared at the round firm ass, which was now exposed, and she had to stop herself from smacking it. She shook her head at her own physical response to him and made her way to the bathroom. In the bathroom, after quickly relieving herself, she did indeed find everything a girl could dream of for a night away from home. Toothbrushes, makeup remover, and even deodorant were all in a cute little bag on the counter. She took in her appearance in the mirror and was grateful Isaias was still asleep. Her mascara was smudged down her cheeks, and her lipstick was partly smeared over her lips, chin, and partly long gone. Her hair, which had been pretty curls before she'd left, was now a tangled mess of knots, and she grabbed a clump of it and held it out sideways with a sigh. It was going to hurt brushing it out with as equal intensity as the pleasure of putting them in. Her head had been slid all over the bed and pillows from Isaias' lovemaking, and she considered she was probably going to need the entire bottle of conditioner to fix it. She started with the makeup remover, made her way to the toothbrush, and then, with a decisive nod, made her way to the shower, taking the hairbrush with her. A few minutes later she was wide-eyed and staring at the tiled wall of the shower when Isaias barged into the bathroom, complaining the sound of the shower running made him need to pee, and without any warning, lifted the toilet seat. She had moved in with Merlin the day of their wedding, and in 5 years he had never once peed with her in the bathroom. It had taken a full year before they'd showered together. She was stunned as she stood frozen, unsure of what she was supposed to do. Then his voice behind her as he followed her into the shower and pressed a kiss to her shoulder made her jump. Pass the body wash. His voice was warm and gravelly in her ear. She reached for the bottle, passing it to him, trying to quell her thundering heart. She resumed dragging conditioner through her hair. Weirdly, sharing a bathroom felt far more intimate than the crazy amounts of sexy they'd had over the last 2 days. This felt a monumental step in a brand new relationship. I didn't ask you last night if you'd had any big plans for today. Is there a set time you need to be home? He stepped under one of the 2 overhead rain shower heads and faced her. Evidently, he had no problem with nudity. Not really. I have laundry to do for the week, but otherwise I don't have anything scheduled. Why? I thought maybe we could spend the morning and part of the afternoon playing tourist, if you wanted. He was vigorously washing his body as if completely comfortable with the very intimate act of showering together. Sure. She turned her body, feeling on display. She forced herself to relax. He had no qualms, so neither should she. Great. Have you ever been to the Met? No, she shook her head as she turned sideways to look at him gripping the brush by the handle and began tearing through her hair. She noted the expression of horror on his face as she tore out chunks of her knots with the brush. What are you doing? Brushing my hair. We made rats' nests in the bed. Give me that. He took the brush from her and turned her around, smacking her nude backside with the back of the brush. Ow. She rubbed her bottom. My mom's hair is quite curly, almost wiry. She used to make me brush her hair when I was a boy. Hell, she still does on occasion. She's spoiled. I know you're supposed to start at the ends and work your way up, not rip it from your scalp. Isaias. She chuckled as he very gently worked through her knots. My mother toughed up my scalp as a kid. She once threatened to shave my head bald because I was always a mess. My sister has very short hair. I'm certain it's short because my mother used to beat her with a brush for her tangles. What is her name? Enya, he said with a smile to his voice as he worked through her hair. We are very close. We share a lot of secrets. I've already told her all about you. She's currently in the UK deciding whether or not the man she is with is the one she wants to marry. She cannot decide if she loves him or if she's simply feeling the pressure of the family to settle down. She had her head tilted backwards as he set the brush down and began massaging her head in soft sweeping motions. He had gotten her tangles out with relative ease. Is there such pressure to get married? There is. Our family is very traditional. My grandparents have been together 70 years. We do a family reunion each year, and the first question out of every auntie's mouth is when you will be getting married and when can they expect a baby. It's worse for Enya because she's a woman, but I will be 40 by the next reunion. My sister is confident all eyes will be on me. She giggled at his words. You should do something incredibly scandalous for your 40th. He laughed, the sound echoing off the shower tiles as he wrapped his arms around her middle and hugged her tight. I can never top Joaquim's 30th when he brought 2 hookers with him. His mother was furious with him. There was more skin than clothing showing. My grandmother was terrified my grandfather would have a stroke. She laughed as he turned her in his embrace. Isaias, I haven't laughed as much as I have in the last week in years. Thank you. He grinned. I aim to please. I'm very glad you did not turn out to be a stuck-up asshole. I am very glad you crashed my date. Are we really going to go to the Met? Yes. I will take you to the Met. We will go for a stroll around Central Park and then we'll head home. We should be back by dinner time. First though, we need to have breakfast and get dressed. She blinked. I don't have clothes. I don't want to go to the Met in the dress I wore to dinner and dancing last night. He laughed and hugged her. Did you not look in the bag? He reached behind her and shut the water off and then motioned to the bags by the door of the bathroom. I told you, everything you need is here. I had my PA call Janka to get your sizes. Everything you could possibly need is there. You think of everything, don't you? She questioned quietly, staring at him. I wanted our date to be special, but I also wanted it to be a surprise. If I'd asked you to pack an overnight bag, it might have spoiled the surprise. She cupped his cheek. I like you very much, Isaias Machado. Good. He kissed her nose. Now, let's go start our day. Liesel never felt more ready. They toured around the Metropolitan Museum of Art and Liesel was breathless. You know, someday your art could be here. Oh gosh, no. She stared at him incredulously. These are the masters. She stared at a Van Gogh. His cypress paintings are divine. You are very talented in your own right. Not comparable to Van Gogh, she giggled at his stern expression. Isaias, my art may as well be stick figures compared to this. Not true. Your art speaks to people, Liesel. I heard the conversations you had at your show. People feel your art. They get lost in the emotions you convey. The painting I bought years ago, for example, brings me to a relaxing place. When I've had a day where everything has gone wrong, I can sit and stare at the painting and feel the calm surround me. Really? She eyed him curiously. Definitely. I'm not feeding you a line, Liesel. I already had you in my bed. I don't need to feed you bullshit to get you back there. My cock already has you ready to jump back in. Oh. She slapped his arm as he chuckled naughtily. What is about the painting which makes you feel calm? When I was a teenager, my parents and I went on our first family vacation. We had only been back with our parents about a year or so. I would have been 12 or almost 13. We went to this park to go camping. Side note, he grinned at her. My mother discovered during this week how much she loathes the outdoors and camping. She got eaten alive by mosquitoes and a snake crawled into her sleeping bag while she was in it. At Liesel's giggle, he squeezed her hand. Anyway, I remember laying in the hammock, hearing my dad teasing my sister and my mom singing while she was getting lunch together. The sky was blue with wispy little clouds, and there was a field behind our campground which felt like it went on for miles, but looking back it was probably only 100 feet or so. There were hundreds of wildflowers in the field. The painting I have from you is a painting of field of gold and red flowers. Each time I look at the picture, I am catapulted back to being in a hammock at 13, with my family. Everyone was happy and relaxed, and it was a good day. Your painting makes me feel good. She couldn't look at him as a tear escaped the corner of her eye. She had always dreamed to hear a patron feel a personal connection to her art, and having this man be so boldly expressive of his feelings felt incredible. She leaned her head to his bicep and pursed her lips as they entered another hall of paintings. You are very quiet, he commented, stroking the top of her hand he held clasped absent-mindedly. Are you okay? I want to say something, but I'm afraid to ruin the moment. Share your thoughts, Liesel. It is every artist's dream for their work to be appreciated and to have someone claim an emotional connection to it. When I was married to Merlin, I painted and he would tell me how beautiful it was or how much money it would probably make at a show, but in 8 years of being together, not once did he ever make any comment about my work making him feel a certain way. 8 years and never did my art evoke sentiment in him. When we first got married and bought the house, I would wait excitedly for him to come home so I could show him what I'd done. He never looked at a painting and described anything even remotely close to how you did just now. I know I shouldn't compare you to one another, but she wiped a tear off her cheek as she stopped to stare at a painting on the wall. I can't help it. I lost part of me when I realized the person I cared for was never going to have an emotional response to my art, and my work suffered for it. I started to spend more time restoring other people's art than doing my own. She met his gaze shyly and was grateful to see there was no anger or annoyance in his expression. Hearing you tell me you look at the painting and it brings you to a happy memory is exhilarating, and it makes me crave a brush and canvas. She didn't look away from him, despite the tears now flowing. Even if tomorrow you tell me this is over, I will never forget this. She waved her hand around them and between them, for as long as I live. Thank you, Isaias. It is my absolute pleasure, Liesel. He wiped a tear off her cheek. You amaze me. The way you feel things so deeply blows my mind. He pressed a sweet kiss to her forehead, and then they continued walking, pausing to examine painting after painting. I never want you to hold back from me how you feel, even if it means you mention your ex. All of your feelings are important to me. You are an incredible man. It blows my mind you're single. I'm not anymore. He winked at her playfully. He motioned for her to walk. You should keep going though, or I'm likely to get us thrown out of here for public indecency. I want you again. She giggled and slugged his shoulder as they continued walking. It wasn't long and she was mesmerized again by the artistry in the museum. She was talking his ear off, and she knew it, but he was patient with her. "I think we've only been through a quarter of the galleries," she said sadly when she caught him glancing at his wristwatch. "We need to get going though, don't we?" "We do," he said with a quiet nod. "We won't be making the walk through Central Park, but we can come back another time and stay longer." She smiled at his words. "I would like that. I hope you weren't bored with me yakking at every turn." "Not even remotely." He lifted her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles. Her eyes caught his wristwatch, and she grabbed it. "It's really 4 o'clock?" He chuckled. "It is. I don't mind. My only complaint is I'm starving. We ate pastries and coffee for breakfast hours ago. I need food. The jet is on standby to get us home and dinner will be served on the plane. Should we get going?" "Yes." She looked around the museum longingly. "I could spend 100 years in here and never get tired. I'm feeling very inspired." He smiled. "Come on then. Let's get you out of here. You'll be painting a storm up all week." She looked him over. "Actually, I kind of want to sculpt." "You sculpt?" "Yes. I used to anyway. Not for several years, but I used to do pretty well with it." "Can you show me?" "My phone is still dead, but next time we see each other, I'll show you some photos of my old portfolio. My sculptures are in storage now." She sighed. "I need to go through it all for when I move into my new place." "You bought a place?" "No. Fred's been great, but I know they enjoy being their own little family. I promised them I'd start looking this week for a place to move into. They told me there was no pressure, but I'm going to rent for a while. I feel like I'm in a period of flux, and after being settled down, tied down really, I'm not ready to commit to anything, not even a mortgage right now." He nodded at her words. "I get it. Well, if you need any help finding a space, let me know. I happen to know a lot of local realtors, and I don't mind helping." "I appreciate the offer." She climbed into the back of the car with him right behind her. "I'll probably take you up on it." As their weekend away drew to a close, Liesel considered this was by far the most healing weekend she could have spent. Isaias was good for her soul. She was returning to Manchester with a renewed spirit and less bitter heart. She prayed this feeling never ended. Liesel stared incredulously at her phone while her brother paced back and forth in the kitchen. Her sister-in-law was hugging a cup of tea as if it were hugging her back, but her eyes were on Liesel's face. When she'd walked through the door, Fred had immediately demanded to know why the hell she hadn't answered any of his messages. She'd been confused until he shoved his phone in her face, spouting nonsense about porn. She had plugged her own device in, and the notifications for hundreds of messages had started to pour in. This isn't happening. She hit play again on the video, which had gone viral overnight. Her and Isaias making out in the club in New York was splashed all over the internet. "Who is this craven person?" Meredith asked quietly. She literally posted this video asking her followers to find out the name of the slut stealing her boyfriend. She and Isaias had a one-night stand 3 years ago. She threatened me in the bathroom if I didn't leave, she would ruin me. She wiped an angry tear off her cheek. This was right after he explained to me she was nothing to him. She looked up. His phone was not dead. He had to have known this was posted. Fred leaned over her and pointed to where Isaias' hand was on her thigh. "His hand is up your skirt. It looks like he's fingering you, Liesel." He almost yelled at her. "What the hell were you thinking doing this shit in public?" "We weren't in public. We were in a VIP room and the only people allowed in there were 2 servers, me, Isaias, Joachim, and his harem." "His harem?" Fred gasped. "It's a joke. He has a bunch of girls who are always hanging around. They call themselves his harem. I don't think he sleeps with all of them." She wasn't really certain though. "Oh my God." Fred walked away and began tapping his forehead off the refrigerator. "Why are you so angry at me?" "I'm not." He turned to face her. "I'm angry at Isaias. Liesel, you've been through the ringer the last couple of months. I wanted you to have fun and forget the hell you've been through. Do you know what this is going to do? The pressure this is going to put on you. This takes your fun and throws it out the window. This woman is pretty much calling you a homewrecker. I can't believe he didn't tell me. She frowned again, hitting play. It was clear to see they were lovers from the video. They were going hot and heavy with the kissing. Two of Dad's sisters called. No. She groaned and dropped her own head to the table with a thud. Why? Because this girl basically called you a homewrecker, and the entire family has been backing you against your sister, who is well and truly a homewrecker. Who do I call first? She asked quietly. Call Granny Wilson, Meredith suggested. She'll get the word out faster than anyone. You did nothing wrong. She wanted to call Isaias and ask him why he didn't warn her this video had posted. He was tagged in it. Surely his PR team knew it was up. It still hadn't been taken down. The comments were in the hundreds of thousands. She dialed out to her father's mother. The woman picked up on the first ring. She left it on speaker. Liesel, who is he? Her grandmother's gravelly voice and the exhale of the cigarette she was smoking made Liesel cringe. The woman was angry if she was smoking. He's a man I met a short while ago. His name is Isaias. I like him a lot. He took me to New York for a date. A girl he was with one time 3 years ago has been clinging to the hope he'll go out with her again. She cornered me in the bathroom of the club and tried to hit me. The club owner is Isaias' cousin, and because she tried to hit me, he banned her from the club. To get back at me, she posted this bullshit story. They weren't a couple. Not ever. If you do an internet search on him, you'll know they aren't. She's just some blonde bimbo who got her panties twisted because he rejected her years ago. She tried to hit you? Yes. Did you deck her? No, but I'm really regretting not hitting her now. Liesel, you're confident they weren't together? 100%. Even one of her own friends in the bathroom confirmed it. She threatened to ruin me and looks like she made good on her threat. This isn't the 1800s, Liesel. You're not ruined. Now, if he'd had his penis out, I might think it more scandalous. Granny! Fred reprimanded her. I'll call your aunts and we'll get the word out. Do me a favor and avoid your mother and Sandy. Sandy told the entire family you did this as a way to get the spotlight off the miracle of her baby because you're so jealous of her. Jesus Christ, Liesel groaned. She's a load your mother should have swallowed. I find it hard to stomach the fact she is my granddaughter. She needs a mental health evaluation and a padded room. Meredith's amen made Liesel and Fred shake their heads at her. It was never a good idea to encourage Granny. Granny, feeling appropriately supported, doubled down with her next comment. I know I'm supposed to love all my grandchildren the same, but Sandy's evil incarnate. The baby she's having with your husband is doomed with parents like them. He's going to grow up a narcissistic, cold-hearted, beady-eyed little bastard. Okay, Liesel made wide eyes at Fred, who was covering his mouth, trying not to laugh. Granny, I'm going to go. I would really appreciate if you could get the word out how I'm not a home-wrecking whore. Done. Don't worry your pretty head about it. I want something in return. Sure. I want a portrait done of me. I saw the one you did of yourself from the photos on the gallery site. I know you could do a good one of me. Absolutely. I'd love to paint you, Granny. Nude. I want it nude. I'll hang it in the dining room. Fred made a horrified gasp as he rubbed his eyes, and Meredith looked ready to vomit. Liesel fought not to laugh at her grandmother's scandalous request. Granny, I would be honored to paint you. Good. I'll talk to you later. I love you, Liesel. You too, Freddie. The sound of her pulling a deep drag of her cigarette before she hung up taunted them. I feel you're being punished by her. Are you kidding? I'd love to paint her. Nude? Why not? The human body is beautiful. Her body housed all her children and has been on the planet for 70 years. She's still a gorgeous woman. I think it would be exciting for her. You're going to do it? Meredith sneered with her lips pulled back so far, her molars were showing. She shuddered. I'd rather die. I am, if it's what she wants. Liesl sighed and stared at her phone. Granny would have the entire family sorted by morning and she knew it, but the rest of the world did not cater to the Wilson family. Fred rubbed her shoulder softly. I'm sorry, I yelled at you. Not your fault. I can't believe he didn't give me the heads up. She sighed sadly. He was on his phone a lot during the flight back. He had to know. What gets me, Meredith said, is how this bitch asked the internet to identify you and they were able to do it so fast. I know, she rubbed her forehead. What a clusterfuck. Are you going to respond? I think I want to sleep on it. She grimaced. I'll call Elise. What's the point of having a lawyer BFF if you can't use her when you get caught in a nightclub with a billionaire's tongue down your throat? I think it's a very good idea. Don't answer anyone or anything until you talk to her. She sighed. I'm going to go to my room to call her and Jenka. Meredith asked curiously, was it at least worth it? He took me to the Met today. I spent 6 hours staring at paintings and talking his ear off. I meant the sex. Meredith squealed when Fred pinched her arm. Liesl gave a sad smile. I feel despite how amazing all of it was. Keeping this, she wiggled her phone from me and not warning me of what was waiting for me when I got home, ruined it all. Her happy vibe destroyed. She made her way to her room to lick her wounds. Ruined. I can't believe he didn't warn you, Jenka said quietly as they sipped coffee in the back room of the gallery on Monday morning. The press outside the gallery this morning was insane. I'm sorry, Jenka. She whispered sadly. I feel terribly you had to close the doors. I could go home. No. It's better they are here than at your brother's house, where your niece plays. Jenka refused to let her go. Liesl's phone buzzed again, and she groaned, looking at it. Fuck off! Which one is it? Merle? Sandy? Your mom? Trent? Tori? Sandy. She grunted. Last night, Granny said she was a load Mom should have swallowed, and I don't disagree. Jenka giggled. Your granny is something else. My granny sits in a rocking chair making slippers. Yours runs the bingo mafia. They all giggled at Jenka's playful words. Granny had once gotten into a fistfight with a woman at bingo for trying to cheat. This morning, I had all of my aunts at Fred's door with hugs and loving support. They all also wanted details on the hot man I was making out with on the internet. At least the video was gone this morning. Yes, but the damage is done. The bitch sent out a call to arms to find the girl who ruined her dreams of being Mrs. Isaias Machado. I had to shut down all my social media accounts. I had death threats for being a homewrecker. Her phone buzzed again, and this time it was Merlin demanding she call him. She almost wanted to respond. For 8 years, when things went sideways in her life, he had been the person she turned to. With Isaias not reaching out since he'd dropped her off the night before, a strange need for comfort filled her. She remembered Jenka telling her she had daddy issues, and she shook her head, exhaled, and put her phone down. Pounding on the door made Jenka curse under her breath. It better be Elsie bringing alcohol. It's not even 9 in the morning, she shot her best friend a shocked expression. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Jenka mumbled back. A few moments later she came back with Elsie on her heels. Guess who called me on my way over? Elsie made wide eyes at her. Before she could answer she responded, Isaias' legal team. They must have heard I was working on a cease and desist. They told me to drop it and they would deal with the situation. What? Liesl was stunned. I told them to go hell because according to my client, Isaias has not made any attempt to communicate with her and thus the trust he would appropriately manage the situation does not exist. What did they say? Jenka said as she grabbed a bunch of glass jars Liesl usually used for rinsing her brushes and dumped them into the sink and rinsed them out. Voila, she muttered as she dug through a cupboard and found a bottle of whiskey. This will do. Liesl shook her head at Jenka while she waited for Elsie to respond as she shoved her jacket onto the back of a chair and dropped her briefcase on the floor. Looks like they were going to be day drinking. He said that Mr. Machado will be in contact with Ms. McGruth shortly and they would appreciate my cooperation in the matter. What did you say? I said, go fuck yourself. And I hung up. Elsie took the glass and stared at it as if questioning whether she genuinely wanted to drink from it. She shrugged and tossed the entire contents down her throat. Also, Merlin called me begging to get you to call him. He's quite concerned for your well-being. She shivered as the alcohol coated her insides. He too, also got told to go fuck himself. What I can't comprehend is how fast this whole thing spiraled out of control, Liesl complained as she did the shot of whiskey and wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. She gagged as the liquid hit her stomach and wanted to immediately come back up. Craven France is an influencer socialite who posts stories and videos all over the world. She has a following of over 2 million. It was nothing for her plea for assistance in trying to find the person breaking up her fake relationship to reach millions in minutes, Elsie complained. Liesl's phone buzzed again, and she looked and grunted. Merlin again. Why don't you shut it off? Elsie asked as she rolled her sleeves up and waved at Janka to keep pouring. She's waiting for Isaias to call her and explain why the fuck he didn't give her a heads up last night before dropping her off. Do you actually think he's going to call Liesl? Elsie swirled the dark liquor around the glass container and grimaced. She gave a sad snort as she accepted the next shot of the whiskey. The weekend was pure perfection from the minute he showed up here Friday night to help me antagonize the McGraths right until he kissed me until I was barely upright at the door when he dropped me off last night at 8. Now it's been 13 hours of radio silence. Did you call him? Text him? No, she shook her head. Why do I need to make the first move when I'm not the one who fucked up? Maybe he's thinking he fucked up and you won't want to be around him. Elsie offered the same explanation Janka had when she questioned her over 2 hours ago. You should message him. No, she shook her head. Every time Merlin messed up, it was me reaching out. It was me somehow apologizing for his actions. It was me who was smoothing things over. I will never again be in a relationship where I take ownership of another man's screw-ups. He owes me an apology and I'm not chasing after it. He can reach out and if he can't then he's not the man I thought he was, and I'll move on. I've known him 10 days, not 10 years. I won't die if I never talk to him again. Her two best friends held up their glasses in a toast to her strong speech and she clinked her glasses with theirs before tossing the burning liquid down her gullet. Where the hell did you get this? It's like paint thinner. She coughed a bit as she wiped her mouth again. It could actually be paint thinner, considering I found it under the counter with your paint supplies. For all I know you used a whiskey bottle to store paint thinner in. The alcohol was now buzzing through their systems, and they all giggled. More pounding on the front door of the closed gallery had them all groaning. Janka poured them each another shot and then rose from the table to go answer the door. The sound of her arguing with someone filtered back and then her footsteps approaching made Liesl drunkenly call out over her shoulder. If it's the reporters again, tell them I refuse to give an exclusive to anyone except Oprah. She slurped back the whiskey, and no comment on dick size. Janka cleared her throat, causing the other two women to turn around. Liesl reached for the whiskey bottle and took a long drink of it before setting it back on the table. She gave the man a long hard stare before speaking. Isaias, what a surprise. Isaias looked sadly at Liesl, who was clearly on her way to being drunk with her two friends. Hey, Liesl, can we talk? Her eyes appeared bruised from lack of sleep and her glare told him he'd waited too long to check in. He was in shit. He hoped he could fix it. If you're here to dump me, don't worry. I figured it out already. You can go. She waved him away as she poured a healthy measure of what appeared to be whiskey into a mason jar. He sighed. Janka, Elsie, do you mind giving us a couple of minutes? Why? I'm going to repeat what you say anyway. Let's just cut out the middleman. It's your prerogative to do so, but I'd rather talk to you alone first. Please? Isaias, you dropped me off last night and couldn't be arsed to warn me of the shitstorm which hit while we were in the air. I'm fairly sure your intentions for me are pretty clear. You don't give a fuck about me. She tilted her glass in his direction. Do you know I had to call my granny because of you? My entire family who protected me and jumped to my defense when Sandy fucked my husband all were eventually tagged in a video which called me a homewrecker by my very loving sister, she drawled sarcastically, where she pointed out my alleged hypocrisy. I apologize. He looked to the two women who hadn't budged. Liesel, please. Give me 5 minutes. I don't want to. It's been 14 hours since you dropped me off and I haven't heard a single peep from you. It's apparent. I was a weekend fling. No, you weren't. He ruffled his hair frustratedly as she did another shot of the booze. Do you usually drink this much on a Monday morning? She was well on her way to being wasted if she wasn't already. He frowned at her furrowed brow. Only when I've lost 2 commission sales, a day of wages, and my employer has had to lock her doors because reporters kept barging in and disrupting business. Not to mention, my sister has accused me of trying to upstage her pregnancy, my ex-husband is calling me on repeat, and my granny wants me to paint her naked as payment for her clearing the air with my aunties. He studied her face and noted the way her bottom lip trembled as if she were struggling not to cry, and he finally decided he didn't care if the other women were there or not. He walked closer to her, took the glass and bottle from her hand, and set them on the table and pulled her into his arms and hugged her tightly. She immediately started crying and guilt slammed him for making her sad. I'm sorry, baby. Don't cry. It's all my fault and I'll fix it. I promise. He whispered into her hair. He rocked her in his arms, closing his eyes as he rested his cheek against the side of her head. I'm so sorry. Why didn't you call? She wailed in his arms. He was aware of the two women quietly sneaking off. I didn't realize how bad it was until I got back into the car after I dropped you off. When we were in the air, I got the notification and I told legal to deal with it. I didn't give Craven another thought. You were on your phone on the plane. She sniffled into his collar. Yup. I was messaging with multiple realtors to help find you a suitable condo, apartment, or loft for you to rent. I never checked any of my messages from family or friends until I got back in the car. I then got reamed by my mother for what appears to be me almost fingering you in a nightclub. I've spent the last 12 hours with legal, my PR team and my sister trying to figure out a way to get this under control with as minimal damage to your reputation as possible. He pressed his lips to her temple. Did you really think I was ending us? Yes. She almost yelled at him. What was I supposed to think? You should trust me, he said simply. I don't know you. She retorted angrily. I've known you all of 10 days. All of this started out of revenge and bribery. I don't want to put the cart before the horse and expect you to have feelings for me too. Sweetheart. He chuckled as her words slurred together. She was definitely drunk. You already know you can trust me, but if you're not sure, it's okay. We'll work on it. I am sorry I didn't call you or warn you the video had been put up. I didn't see the video when we were in the air. I only had the message from my PR team. Craven had posted a video suggesting I was cheating on her. I told them to handle it with legal. My aunties all thought I took a page out of Sandy's book. As if, he led her to a chair and he sat down and pulled her to his lap. He stroked her hair off her forehead. Her beautiful brown eyes were glassy and red-rimmed as if she'd been crying, and he felt terrible. If your aunties think you capable of such things, then they need their heads examined. You would never. No shit, she mumbled, playing with his tie. He fought his smile at her anger. How the hell had this vivacious, brilliant woman been married to a man dull as Merlin McGrath? Even despondent with alcohol running through her veins and anger boiling in her blood, she was still the most beautiful, passionate woman he'd ever met. Regret he'd mishandled this situation consumed him. The minute his legal team had told him Elsie had told them to fuck off because he hadn't maintained communication, he'd realized his error and had beelined to her. He studied her face quietly as she pouted, staring at the patterns on his tie as if mesmerized, and he gently tilted her chin to force her eyes to meet his. Liesel, I know it's only been 10 days, but I care for you, quite deeply. I have a very terrible habit of losing myself in a project, no matter what it is, and, in this instance, it was destroying everything Craven France ever held dear. It didn't even dawn on me to check in on you because I was so consumed with making her pay. I am so sorry. Can you ever forgive me? He almost laughed as her lips pursed almost in the shape of a duck. Please? You care for me? Very much. Whatever this is starting between us, I do not want it to end anytime soon. You're really going to make her pay? Have you been on the internet? I've already started. I had death threats, Isaias. I had to delete all my social media. He felt the anger bubbling again to the surface. Someone threatened you? Multiple people did. Craven's followers were in my DMs. Fuck. He grimaced. Do you mind if I have my IT department work with the media company and my security team and sort it out? She shook her head. You would do that for me? Of course, Liesel. None of this is your fault. It will all get settled. My legal team already filed a lawsuit in New York against Craven and her cronies for defamation, libel, and slander for both of us. I'm going to destroy her reputation so bad she's not going to be able to use a public bathroom in a gas station without someone knowing what she did. Okay, he kissed her lips softly. You did nothing wrong here, Liesel. Nothing. I fucked up by not protecting you better when we went out, and I made it worse by trying to deal with it on my own and not bringing you in or even asking you how you were doing. I am infinitely sorry. Please say it's not too late and we can still see each other? She nodded at his words and relief filled his chest. He looked to her phone buzzing angrily on the desk and he sneered, Merlin is calling you. She looked up naughtily, you can answer it if you want. I have no secrets from you, Isaias. He stared at her incredulously and wondered how the hell he'd gotten so lucky. He ignored the phone and instead kissed her, praying everything he was feeling was demonstrated with his affection. Liesel shivered involuntarily as Isaias kissed her with a passion she was struggling to reciprocate. The amount of alcohol in her veins were hindering her ability to think or react clearly. When her tooth bumped his, he laughed and hugged her. You're drunk, sweetheart. I know. I don't usually drink whiskey. It might actually be paint thinner. She rested her head on his shoulder. She felt inebriated in the worst way. Are you working today? Not really. She whined. Definitely can't do any restoration when my head is this muddled. How about you come home with me? Don't you have to work? I can work from home. You can sleep off your whiskey on the sofa in my office. I only want you close to me. You do? Yes. I very much do. If I leave, Janka might be able to open back up for the day. Then let's go. He stroked her cheek softly. She blinked and opening her eyes back up was a struggle. She sighed as he kissed her forehead and pushed her head against his shoulder and rocked her in his arms. Her phone started buzzing again and she considered throwing it across the room, but instead Isaias answered it on speaker. Liesel's phone. Who the fuck is this? Merlin's voice bit out angrily. Who the fuck do you think it is, McGrath? Where's Liesel? Right here on my lap where she belongs. He stroked her hair softly. Liesel rubbed her head against his hand in a cat-like movement. She would purr if she could. She looked up to see Elsie and Janka coming back into the room. Both were smiling and Janka winked at her. What do you want, Merle? She asked sleepily. You and I need to talk. About what? I told you on Saturday I have nothing more to say to you, and if you keep harassing me, I'll have Elsie file a restraining order against both you and Sandy. I haven't done so yet because of my mom, but you're dancing on my last nerve. What the hell was with the video, Liesel? Is this a way to get back at me? Sleeping with the enemy? He's not my enemy and we rarely sleep, she hiccuped and then covered her mouth giggling. Are you drunk? Merlin nearly shrieked at behavior. McGrath, Isaias spoke before Merlin could. I told you on Saturday when you called me begging me to back off so you could convince Liesel to come back to you and raise your love child. I'm not backing off. I like her. A lot. The video demonstrates very clearly how much I like her. It also demonstrates how much she likes me. We're very," he paused dramatically, "compatible." Janka snickered at his comment. Liesel, prompted by Janka's wicked grin, leaned forward and snarled into the phone, "He doesn't even need to use pills when we're together, Merlin." She looked to Isaias with wide eyes. "He couldn't get it up, or if he could, he couldn't keep it up because I wasn't sexy enough." "Liesel!" Merlin's voice snapped at her through the phone. "You're drunk. Very drunk. Isaias is going to take me home and put me to bed. And when she's sober, I'm going to climb into the bed with her and remind her she is more than sexy enough, and you were simply a sad little man who had no control over his pencil dick." "Okay then." Elsie hung up the phone and made wide eyes at the pair. She pointed at Isaias. "She's drunk, but you're goading him." "I am. I hate the bastard. Who could ever make Liesel think she wasn't sexy? He's mentally disturbed." He grinned at her. "You should call my legal team back. My lead legal counsel was impressed you told him to fuck off in Latin." "Your lead legal counsel is a pretentious asshole," Elsie quipped back. She waved her fingers at Liesel. "You good?" "Yes, but you're my lawyer and I trust you." "Can you?" Liesel didn't even finish her words and Elsie nodded. "I've got your back and I always will. I'll make sure you're protected." She squeezed her shoulder. "I need coffee. The battery acid we were drinking is rotting my insides." Elsie groaned and sat at the table. "I don't want to go back to the office." "Will your boss be angry if you don't?" Isaias asked seriously. "Not if I blow him." Elsie stretched her hands across the table and grabbed Liesel's phone, which had started to ring again, and shut it off. "You're sleeping with your boss?" "Nope. He wants me to sleep with him. Offered me partner if I spread my legs," she admitted to Isaias and then frowned at Liesel. "Was there truth serum in the paint thinner?" "He's easy to talk to." "How bad do you want to make partner?" "Not bad enough. I want 60-year-old flaccid dick near my mouth," Elsie complained. "With my luck, he'd be like Merlin, unable to finish in under 3 hours, and I'd be laying on my back counting ceiling tiles praying for death like Liesel did." "Hey!" Liesel blushed. "I told you that in confidence." She got really drunk when Merlin was at a conference and told us how Merlin hadn't been able to get it up since they got married. He refused to do any position except missionary because it was the best way to express his love for her. Elsie looked to Janka, and they both started laughing. "What a dork." Liesel was mortified as her best friends spoke boldly about her sex life to Isaias. "Would you shut up?" "Can't be worse than her telling us he hated blowjobs." Janka smirked as she drank tap water thirstily. "He what now?" Isaias leaned closer. "No man hates blowjobs." "He's not a man. He's a slug," Janka commented. A slug who felt getting a blowjob from his wife was degrading. Isaias shifted in the seat to look at Liesel incredulously. "Tell me he at least gave you oral?" She was ready to smack her friends sober. Elsie answered before she could. "Only on specific days of the month. If she was ovulating, he said she had a smell, and he wasn't going anywhere near her if she was close to her period." "You never had period sex?" Isaias was dumbfounded. "Oh my God. No. He wouldn't even pee if she was in the same room." "Okay," he held his hands up in disbelief. "Are you telling me Merlin needed Viagra to get it up, only fucked in missionary position, for 3 hours at a time without coming, never did anything even close to what can be considered foreplay with you, and he complained you were not sexy enough?" She felt humiliated to the heights of heaven at his question. "Yeah, sums it up," Janka muttered. Yet, he managed to get it up quick enough to fuck her sister at her mother's house and get his rocks off. The problem was not Liesel, but his archaic beliefs of what married sex was. "Boo, boo," Elsie said excitedly, "and they never had sex until they were married. He insisted they wait 3 years. He didn't even finger her." "Would you shut up?" Liesel shrieked. She screamed when Isaias stood up and flung her over his shoulder and stalked to the front of the store. "What are you doing?" He grabbed her phone and shoved it in his pocket and looked around for her purse. Janka put it in his hand. Janka, come let me out of here. I need to take my girl home and sober her up so I can show her how a real man worships a body like hers. Janka was roaring as she raced after them to unlock the doors. Paparazzi will have a field day if you carry her out of here. Let them. I don't care if they know she is my girl. I care if they report lies about my girl. He slapped her ass as she wriggled trying to get down. She buried her face in his back, covering her cheeks with her hands as he carried her to the SUV and dropped her inside before lunging in after her. Questions being screamed at them from the journalists waiting for them to make an appearance, assaulting her ears as she wanted to die of embarrassment. You're insane. She slid away from him in the care. Perhaps. He agreed, his eyes laughing at her discomfort. He told the driver to take them to his house. He was grinning. I hope the tabloids print how excited my dick was to carry you out of the gallery. Isaias, she pressed her hands to her cheeks as he buckled her seatbelt for her. He pressed a hot kiss to her lips, slipping his tongue along hers and making her forget everything, including her own name as he took her home.